Members of the audience can come up and talk to the commission regarding items that are not on the agenda. We will limit you to 3 minutes. So is there any public comment? I see no public comment. I'll close it. Opening up for consent agenda. What's the pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve items 1, 2, and 3 on the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Certificate of Compliance 1186.
Yeah, thank you. This item was on the consent agenda, but it's being pulled from consent for your discussion, just so I can make a couple of changes and clarifications. Staff is requesting that the Planning Commission include in their motion, number 1, to acknowledge that this request is for the acknowledgement of 34 parcels, not 37, as it says in the staff report, as parcel numbers 15, 21, and 34 are not part of the application, and then parcels 8 and 39 were impacted by previous action covered by a lot line adjustment and therefore not part of this application. Number 2, to include the indemnification condition of approval that is on the memo there, our standard indemnification condition. And number 3, include CEQA findings in the motion that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to 21080B1, 15268, and 15369 as a ministerial project, and that section 15061B3 of the CEQA guidelines also would cause this project to be exempt. It's staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission, find the recommendation, approves the certificate of compliance for the 34 parcels as proposed by the applicant, subject to the amended conditions of approval and the CEQA findings.
Okay. Questions from the Commission? None? Any public comment on this topic? I see none. We'll close public comment.
And those CEQA findings are in addition to the one that was listed in the staff report as well.
Okay. So what's the pleasure of the Commission?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that the Planning Commission approves certificate of compliance 11-86 for all of the parcels as proposed by the applicant, subject to the amended conditions of approval and the CEQA findings in the staff report as amended by staff.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, done. General planning, general plan housing development.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Michael Kelly, Associate Planner. And this item is the annual progress report for the housing element for 2007 to 2014. And this report covers year 3 in the housing element following year 3 following adoption of the housing element, which was in 2010. 2012 is year 3. And it report covers all those programs that were scheduled for year 3. So that includes the 3-year time frame programs, the annual time frame programs and ongoing time frame programs. This item tonight's kind of like an informational thing, just so you can look it over and comment, but state law does require that it be a public hearing, both before you and the Board of Supervisors, so we'll ask for your comment and I suppose then ask for a public comment if there is any. And anyway, of course, as described in the staff report, this housing element, of course, deals with regional housing needs allocation and the housing numbers that we would need to accommodate through policy, not necessarily through building, but through policy over the period of the housing element, and the programs to remove governmental constraints on the affordability and availability of housing during that time. The housing element's certified, and that means that we're in line with state law, and we're eligible for grant funding from the state. And this annual progress report is part of maintaining that. That's kind of basically what this is all about. So I can take questions if you like, and CJ Valenzuela, Housing Programs Coordinator, is here also if you have questions.
Any questions from us? Okay, I'd like to open it up to the public comment portion. Anybody here to speak on this topic? I see none, so I'll close public comment. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I move that we direct staff to submit this to the Board of Supervisors.
I second that.
We have a first, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Capital improvement projects.
Hi, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Adam Goldstone. I'm the county's capital project manager with the Public Works Department, and it's time for the annual visit over here to have you review next year's proposed list of capital improvement projects and hopefully find that they are consistent with the county's general plan. I can answer any questions on any specific projects as best I can, if you have any, or the process.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question about the courthouse elevator replacement. So, and it's just from my own curiosity. What's that building going to be once this one's done?
It's about half full with county departments right now, and we would bring more county departments or expand the use of the ones that are already in there. And a planning effort's already ongoing for who goes in and how much space and that sort of thing, a space planning effort.
Is the Sheriff's Department moving to the courthouse building?
No, they're out with Public Works and Planning on Technology Parkway.
So then what's going to happen to the Sheriff's building here?
That one is slated, quote unquote, for demolition as soon as funds are available, which isn't anytime soon, but there's real no use or need of that building due to its condition. Yeah.
So whatever uses of the old courthouse building will have, it's going to need a new elevator.
That's a minimum,
Okay.
and that's what we've been carrying over in case it were to fail at any moment. We wanted to keep funding. This is going to expand into a space planning and ultimately, you know, some other design work and construction work there.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Any questions?
No.
Robert?
I have a question. On the Resource Recovery Park, you guys have an estimate of 1.1. What's that going to cover, or what's that funds for?
That's a good question, and you asked on one that's not actually one of my projects, but I'm not 100% sure what the scope is for this year on that. I know that's just the amount they have available should things, you know, start happening. I don't know what that thing is or what the process is, I'm afraid.
I mean, they're going to widen the roads up John Smith landfill?
Those are actually under separate projects
Separate projects?
in the roads division. There are several John Smith road improvement projects that are related and also unrelated to the landfill and the resource recovery park.
Mr. Chair, if I could help, the Resource Recovery Park revised environmental documents in circulation now, and we anticipate that that project will come back to the Planning Commission for public hearing and approvals probably in the summer time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Also going through this, I have another question. There's no funds set aside for widening Fairview Road. You know, with all these developments going in, Fairview Road as it is right now, it's pretty packed.
Yeah, I know, what's that? Oh, there is a traffic signal going in over there, you know, in advance of some of that stuff, but as far as general widening, I mean, obviously that's a pretty, it's a pretty tall order, and I'm sure, you know, based on the proposals that are coming into the planning department, those sort of things are being addressed. Oh, there is a new project on there. I'm not familiar with some of the new ones yet on the roads end of things. It looks like we are looking at widening the shoulder at least to help with some of those issues. So
But
it's
that's
not
just
right
gonna-
on the edge.
But that's going to remain just a two-way.
We
Not
have-
Go to
we-
4 lanes.
I know we have looked at transportation grants to help either construct another, you know, north-south road or widen this one, and those efforts are still ongoing. but there are no funds at this time.
Because there's all these projects that you got, like the landfill expansion, and that ferry road's gonna really take a lot of impact.
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Chair, on the awards project, I hear they're breaking ground in July. Will they be shouldering some of the widening on their side of the road on Fairview?
I believe, I'm not familiar, but I believe that's a city project, and I'm not sure what impact that they're going to have.
I'm pretty sure they're going to take in a part of that.
Okay.
So that should help out.
Yeah, it may be some time until the whole road, but as these developments come in, they will be taking their share.
They are gonna widen just where they're doing the project, but is everything's gonna come in and,
I guess that all depends on
Yeah.
the traffic reports and things like that to determine how far up, to what intersection they, anticipate needing extra road width.
yeah, because ferry's been that wide forever.
Yeah. Our senior engineer with Public Works Department has a comment.
As both award homes, the improvement plans for which are under review right now, and Santana Ranch, as they come forward, each of them have obligations to start developing widening up through Santana Ranch northerly from, basically from Airline Highway. And so there will be piecemeal widenings, but it probably won't go beyond McCluskey Road until sometime in the future.
So all the traffic leaving those projects, they're gonna come back to narrow road. Past McCluskey.
And/or disperse through various cross streets, McCluskey Road, Santa Ana, Hillcrest.
Fallon Road.
And get down towards Highway 25.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'd like to open up for public comment. Anybody on here who wish to speak on this topic?
Richard Betancourt, 4140 Southside Road. My only question is, didn't they, the bypass, borrow some money from the, what's the one that sort of comes up there by the St. Benedict's? Didn't they take some money from that to finish up the bypass? Is that money back in?
That's Union Road.
Okay. That's the only question I have, or comment.
Do we have an answer to this question by chance?
No, I don't. I think Art's best guess was that it was Union Road is where that would be going.
Okay. Any other public comment? We'll close the public comment side. Commission, what's your pleasure? Make a motion. Ray?
I make a motion that we forward the capital improvements project for 2013-14 as presented by Adam to the County Board of Supervisors.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
And adopt the resolution 2013-01.
And adopt resolution. What was the purpose?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Who did the board vote on that, Adam?
During the budget hearings, mid-June, I think the 17th.
We'll now open it up for discussion items.
Mr. Chair, I did want to update the Planning Commission on the Citadel Oil project that was approved at your last meeting. That project was, project approval was appealed to the Board of Supervisors, and by the Center for Biodiversity, and it's going before the board on the June 4th meeting, if you have interest in following that.
Okay. Any commission statements? Reports from the commission?
Is this your last meeting, Gary?
Quite possibly, as I'm going through a background check and medical for another position.
Okay.
If I pass, which is
It's a little shaky.
little shaky, I probably won't be here next time around. But
Well, I just want to say I didn't check with these guys, but I just want to say, certainly from my own standpoint, but also on behalf of the commission, it's been a huge pleasure working with you. Thank you for all you've done for San Bernardino County, and we'll miss you. And best
you
of
very
luck
much.
wherever you're going.
I appreciate all you've done too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Same here.
Any other reports?
Yeah, one question. What's the status of the general plan?
The public comment period on the draft EIR concluded yesterday at 5. We received less than 50 total comments. We received a handful of comments on the policy document that will be reviewed separately, but the comments on the draft EIR will have to be responded to, and those responses and the comments are all folded into the EIR in the final EIR process. The next step following that is we'll go to some form of workshop with Planning Commission and or board, or either together separately, and talk about those comments and revisions, any revisions that the Planning Commission would like to make or the board would like to make, and then we'd go into public hearings at the Planning Commission level, and then following that at the Board of Supervisors level. So depending on how quickly staff is able to respond to those comments, we'll start those other programs going. But I'd say optimistically, if not too many changes are made, could be end of summer for approval. The more changes that are made to either the policy or to the policy document may have ramifications to the environmental impact report. If it significantly changes, then that environmental impact report may have to be recirculated if the impacts are felt to be significant enough to merit that.
Okay, we have adjournment. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So move we adjourn.
We have first, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Motion carried.